Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am creating some farmhouse decor using items from Dollar Tree. Project number 1 was inspired by a piece that I found online on Antique Farmhouse. It is this beautiful framed wall art for $20. I am using one of Dollar Tree's frames, but you can use any frame that you like. This particular frame measures about 7 5/8 of an inch wide and 11 5/8 of an inch in height. Now, to cover up that design on the front, I am going to be attaching a piece of poster board using a glue stick. I just want to make sure that that does not bleed through when I put my printable on there. So after I get this attached and I wipe any of the excess glue off, I will be attaching this beautiful printable that I created, and I have this on my website, which is in my description box below. All you have to do is go over there, click on free printables, and then you can download this and print it on your printer to use for your project. I'm going to line that up in the center and then trace it out because this is just printed on regular 8.5 by 11 copy paper. And then I'm going to attach this to the top of that poster board using the glue stick. I make sure that I press it down nice and firmly all the way across and make sure that it's smooth with no wrinkles. Now my piece does not look exactly like the inspiration photo because I could not find a sketch print of the rain boots, but I still love how it turned out and I love the simplicity of it. The sketch of the floral stem with the wood plank background. I just love how this one turned out and I hope you guys like it as well. So we're going to start on project number 2, which is also another piece that I found on Antique Farmhouse as inspiration for $36. Using one of Dollar Tree's round signs, after I remove the hanger, I am going to sand those edges because they were pretty rough. And then I used my hair dryer to try to remove that sticker as much as possible, just kind of heating that glue up and peeling it. And then I do go over that when I'm finished with some sandpaper to make sure there's no glue residue left. Using painter's tape, I am going to tape off 2 sections, one closer to the top and then the other one about middle way down. I want to keep that center section this brown woodish tone. Using Mod Podge, I'm going to apply that to the sections that I will be applying the paint to create a nice crisp line with no bleed through. Now I did put a little bit too much Mod Podge, so I do have to wipe that off. You just want a nice thin even coat and allow it to dry before you apply your paint. I will be using Folk Art White Adirondack chalk paint and applying 2 coats to those 2 outside sections. I also painted the outside edges of this sign except for where the brown part is, so that the outside edges would be cohesive. I also let my paint dry before I removed the painter's tape, but you could probably remove it while the paint is still wet. But it gave the most beautiful crisp lines with no bleed through. Now I am going to take the same white chalk paint and a dry brush because the inspiration piece had some distressing on the wood part. So I am going over this in one direction and then I'm going to go in the opposite direction to create that pattern line look that the inspiration piece had. And I'm just dry brushing over the wooden section of it. I am also going to use Deco Art in the color Artifact, which is just a beautiful gray color, and dry brush over the white sections of the sign to give it that nice distressed look. And here I'll give you just a close-up so that you can see it's just very light distressing on the white part. I want this piece to be finished looking, so I am going to cover the back with some craft paper, and I'm going to use the glue stick to go all around the back part of the sign, especially the edging. And then I'll flip that over and press it down onto my craft paper. And then I'm going to flip it over again and just smooth everything out and make sure that it gets a nice good seal on the glue. Once that glue has set, I can flip it back over and I'm going to set it on a cutting board and use my utility knife to go around the outside of the sign. It's going to give us a beautiful, smooth, finished look on the back. And it's so easy to do. I do want to keep the hole there at the top so that I can put a hanger. So I just used my pencil and poked through the front and then back again through the back so that I will have a place to place my hanger. I'm going to freehand the design at the bottom of the sign. I'm just looking at my phone and just drawing according to what the inspiration piece looks like. If you're like me, I love to watch things like this just come to life. But if you don't like watching this, then you may want to skip ahead about a minute and a half. I'm just going to play some music and I hope you enjoy. And here is a close-up after I've finished drawing it out with the pencil. Now I'm going to go back over it with a Sharpie. I'm going to use a thicker Sharpie on some of the larger areas and then a fine tip Sharpie on those fine detailed areas. Again, I'm going to play a little bit of music and I hope you guys enjoy. I think this turned out really beautiful. Now it does have a little bit of pencil smudging, which gives it more character and even more of a distressed look. I'm using some of these wood beads. Now I buy mine from Amazon in a very large package with different sizes. I have that listed in my Amazon store in my description box below if you are interested. I am trying to get the color consistency of the woodish color on the sign. So I am using apple barrel acrylic paint in the color khaki, and then I'm mixing just a little bit of apple barrel acrylic paint in the color nutmeg. And I'm just going to place each one of my beads on a barbecue skewer, which makes it just a little bit easier to paint. And then I will set those 5 beads to the side and let them dry. I created a decal for the top part of the sign using my Cricut. I also have this as a free printable on my website, again, which is in my description box below if you are interested in printing that out for your project. If you do have a Cricut, the home part of the sign, I use the font Eve Adam, and for the rest of the wording, I use the font Dom Casual Standard. When I pulled my transfer tape up, it did take off a little bit of that distressing, so I will have to go back over that with the white chalk paint and distress that again. I am using some hemp rope to apply the beads to, and I'm just going to feed the end through the back and then just wrap it around, tie a knot, and make sure that I put my knot towards the back of the sign so you don't see it. Then I can push those beads down and create a loop at the very top, and then I will double knot that at the bottom of the loop to create the hanger, and then I can cut that excess off at the loop at the top as well as the excess I had on the back of the sign. And then this project is finished. You guys let me know how I did in reference to the inspiration piece. I love how it turned out. I love all of the colors in this, just the simplicity of the black and the white with that pop of brown. I really love how this one turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. If you're enjoying today's projects, I would love for you to click that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and visit me on all my other social media accounts. All those links are in my description box below. For the third project, I am using one of Dollar Tree's glass vases, as well as the white chalk paint, some baking soda, and apple barrel acrylic paint in the color khaki. I'm going to start off with 2 spoonfuls of the white chalk paint, add a little bit of the khaki so that I can create an off-white color. I didn't want a super bright white. Once I have that mixed thoroughly, I'm going to take 2 spoonfuls of the baking soda and mix this thoroughly so that we can create a textured vase. This is going to have the consistency of like yogurt. I have never used this technique before, but I am so pleased with the outcome. I don't know why I haven't done it before, but I'm sure that I will be doing this a lot more often. I'm going to apply it using one of these stiff, like chippy brushes, and I'm going in one direction, and that is up and down. I will set that to the side and let it dry for about an hour. I am also painting the inside rim and the top rim, and I had some paint left over, so I just covered that with some clear plastic wrap, waited about an hour, and my paint was still good so that I could use this to apply the second coat. Now the second coat, I'm going to go in the opposite direction, so I'm going to go around the entire vase. This is going to give it full coverage, and it's going to create a beautiful textured pattern on here. And let me see if I can pull it a little bit closer. Maybe you can see through the camera, but it's just gorgeous, and I love the texture on here. To paint this, I'm going to paint the bottom. I've already put some chalk paint on the bottom so that my apple barrel burnt umber acrylic paint will adhere to it. I'm going to put 1 coat of this on the bottom, and then using a soft dry brush, I'm going to dab this into the burnt umber and wipe the majority of it off. And then I'm going to pounce up and down all the way around the bottom to create this speckled type effect. And I'm going to continue to do this around the bottom. And in some areas, I will raise it a little bit higher to give it more of a visual appeal. And then I am also going to do this at the very top rim of the vase, as well as on the inside of the rim. And then I will set that to the side, let that burnt umber dry. And to create a variation in color, I'm going to take that same khaki paint and then nutmeg and add a little bit of nutmeg and mix that up until I get a different shade of brown that I'm going for. So I do end up adding a little bit more of the nutmeg to make it a little bit darker. And then I'm going to use a different dry brush and pounce this all above where the burnt umber is. And I'm going to continue to do that all around the bottom as well as the top. And then I will also take that burnt umber and then add a few specks here and there to blend those 2 browns together. Allow this to dry, and then to give it a protective coating, I'm going to take it outside and give it a nice spray paint of this triple thick clear glaze, which Krylon makes. And this is just going to give it some added protection. Add a little bit of greenery into the vase, and it is finished, and I absolutely love it. I love the texture on this. I don't know why I haven't done this technique before, but I think it turned out really beautiful. Let me know what you think of project number 3. For today's final project, I am using one of Dollar Tree's 6 by 8 inch canvas frames. I'm going to remove the canvas by using my Arrow staple remover. This thing is a lifesaver. It makes removing these staples so easy. I have this listed in my Amazon store in my description box. If you are interested, you just slide it right under those staples and it pulls them right out. Once I have that canvas removed, I will save the canvas maybe for a project later on. I only need the frames, and I'm going to do this for 4 of the canvases. I do hold them all up together to make sure they are very close to the same size. They're not going to be the perfect same size. Taking the smallest one out of the 4, I'm going to flip this over where those holes where the staples are now facing me, and I am using these ruler sticks from Lowe's. You can get a pack of 10 for $1, and I am going to make my mark across the top of the canvas and then use my handheld miter shears to cut that down. I also have that listed in my Amazon store if you are interested. So it's going to take 5 of these ruler sticks to cover the top, and it will be some space in between them. I'm using some wood glue to attach the ruler stick to the top of the canvas where the hole parts are, where the staples were. And I like to start on the 2 outer pieces, and then I can leave the same amount of distance in the pieces in between. So I'm using some Dollar Tree clamps to hold that in place and then wiping the excess glue off. I'll do that on the other side the exact same way, and then I will repeat this process for each one of these sticks in between. So once I kind of know exactly where I want them to be and the spacing is pretty much the same all throughout, I can glue each one of these down, place the clamps on them, and if I have any excess glue, I will take a paper towel and wipe that off because I am going to be staining my piece, so I want to make sure that that glue is removed. I'm going to take the other 3 frames. Now the 2 outside pieces, I am facing the staple holes to the inside, and then the other piece, the staple holes will be to the outside. So this is how I'm going to attach them together, the 2 longer pieces to the ends of the other piece. If that makes sense, you can kind of see what I'm talking about because it sounds a little confusing. I'm going to attach those using wood glue, just put it up to the other end. Again, the staple holes on the left-hand side, they are facing inward, and then the staple holes on the other one are facing me. And this is going to make more sense as to why I'm doing that in just a minute. So I'm going to place some clamps on there, hold it in place, make sure everything is flush and even, and then I can do the exact same thing on the other side by adding the wood glue and the clamps. So now this becomes, those 2 longer ones are going to be the legs of our shelf, and that top piece will be the top part of the shelf. Now that the wood glue has dried on this piece, this is going to be the second part of the shelf. So what we're looking at here is I'm just going to place that and eyeball it to determine how high I want that to be up on the legs of the shelf. And then I will make a mark on the inside corner of each one of these pieces so I will know exactly where to attach it. So once I get that in there, I'm just going to take some hot glue to hold it temporarily in place so that I can do a more permanent fix to it. So this is just going to hold it there until that glue sets so that I am able to get all 4 of those sides glued together. Then I'm going to pre-drill it with a very small drill bit so I can place a finish nail in there because I know that that hot glue is not going to hold it permanently, so this nail is going to give it that permanent hold. And I'm going to do that for all 4 corners by pre-drilling and then adding my finish nail. So all 4 sides will have those finish nails. That is the bottom shelf. And now we can work on the top shelf. So I can remove all those clamps, take those same painter sticks, or ruler sticks. These I want to have a little bit of an overhang on each end as well as the front and back. So I held that in place made my marking, cut it down with my miter shears, and then I'll use that first one as a template to cut 5 additional ruler sticks. So it'll be a total of 6 on the top because we're going to place those very close together. We're not going to have any spacing in those. I'm going to apply wood glue all to the top and take each of those 6 ruler sticks, place them on the top, and the wood glue is going to give you a little bit of time if you need to move anything around, but make sure it's nice and straight and you have an equal distance of overhang on each of the sides. And then once it gets tacky enough, I'll flip that over, and I know it's going to need some additional support in the middle, so I'm using a scrap piece of canvas frame that I already had in my stash. I cut it down to size, and then I am using the wood glue on each end and all across one side to glue that in place, and then set something heavy on it, and I actually just let mine set overnight. Once that wood glue dries, I can then take some sandpaper and sand down any rough edges or any excess glue that I may have missed and didn't wipe off because I am going to be staining my piece. Now I'm staining it with Minwax in the color Classic Oak, but you could paint this, stain it whatever color you like. I just love this subtle hint of stain, and it really brings out that wood grain texture. I'm going to go over this entire piece, making sure that everything gets one coat of this stain. And it also has a polyurethane in it, so it's going to protect this wood. I allowed it to dry overnight, and now you can style it however you want. I absolutely love how this piece turned out, and you can use it for so many different things. You could actually set this next to your kitchen sink and put dish soap, sponges, or whatever you like. If you have a favorite out of today's video, please let me know in the comments section down below. I always love to know which one is your favorite. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Please take care, and I'll see you next time.